Hey, real quick, for the month of December, I'm raising money with the Bungie Foundation for charity. By donating through my link, the first one in the description, you can get all the cosmetics you see here on screen added to your account, plus the money goes to a good cause. I'm trying to raise $5,000 before the end of the year for those in need, so thank you so much and enjoy the video. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we covered the new DSC perks, and today we covered the new IKELOS perks. And yeah, I know, you probably want to see my weapon set review on the new seasonal weapons, but I need a bit more time. The linear or the bow haven't even dropped for me yet, and I want to do some testing with that linear before I make a guide, so I don't end up spreading any misinformation. So today we're going to talk about some old goodies instead. These old goodies are up there with the Season 10 weapons as the only weapons that can directly make Warmind cells without the need of solar splash damage. And with Warmind cells just absolutely sucking compared to well builds nowadays, these weapons can't rely on Warmind synergy alone to be looked up highly upon. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the new perk pools of the IKELOS weapons here in Season of the Seraph. We're going to talk about how you can farm and get your hands on these weapons, as well as answering the question of whether or not you should be crafting them. With all that said, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's jump into this. To start off, let's first go ahead and talk about getting your hands on these reprised weapons. Bungie has essentially designed a system that is very reminiscent of an old scavenger hunt they designed back in Warmind for Mars. Essentially, you just run the new seasonal activity, that activity being Heist Battlegrounds, and at the end of each battleground you get Resonant Stem, which used to be the old Mars currency. Opening your inventory, you can then deposit 4 of these Resonant Stem into an item called the Resonance Amp. After this, the amp will give you a brief description of where you need to go in order to claim your IKELOS weapon. Now, this video isn't a guide on the location of all of the 12 current ones that we know of, but if you do want every last location, you don't want to need to find them yourself, then feel free to bookmark my buddy Jarv's video, which I'll have in the description. Now, once all 12 of these are claimed, it seems that you get locked out. Whether that's until next daily reset, the weekly reset, or forever, there seems to be some sort of restriction on how often you can claim these weapons via the Resonance Amp scavenger hunt. That said, the other current method of getting IKELOS weapons would be through the Umbral Engram focusing system in the Helm, and just like other seasonal weapons, these are craftable, so any red borders you get will result in helping get the pattern. Now that you know how to get and farm these weapons out, let's move on to the weapons themselves. Every single one of these reprised weapons will be coming with a new origin trait known as Rasputin's Arsenal. This says that breaking a target shield is going to partially reload the weapon's magazine, so this is going to be good anytime you're playing some kind of match game content, maybe some lost sectors, stuff like that, and you end up breaking some shields for, let's say, art for the IKELOS SMG, you'll end up getting some ammo back, which is very nice. Now, speaking of the IKELOS SMG, let's go ahead and kick things off with that. Now, this weapon is known as the SMG that just won't die. This thing has been around for a millennia and has been loved by so many for so long. Back in the day, it was known for how good it was with Warmind cells, and then those got nerfed, and then it was known for how good it was as an SMG in general, and then you couldn't get it anymore, and then it was added to the Dare's loot pool, and people loved it again. Now here in Season 19, it's officially brought back not only as a weapon you can earn again, but one that has new perks as well. Now, this new perk pool is both a good and bad thing. It really depends on what kind of player you are as to whether or not you'll be greatly affected by the changes that Bungie have made. Taking a look at what the IKELOS SMG has to offer, you may notice 2 very high profile perks are missing, and that is Subsistence in the first column, as well as Demo in the second. Demo probably being the biggest pain point because grenades in Destiny 2 have never been better, and it sucks for all those players that may have wanted to get a demo version of this SMG. The gameplay you're watching in the background is actually that of an IKELOS SMG that I have back since Arrivals, and I'm running Threat Detector Demo with a Heart of Emos Light build. It helps me get grenades just that much quicker, and unfortunately if you're a newer player, you won't be able to experience that with this particular rendition of the gun. What you will be able to experience, however, is a pretty damn good perk roll of Feeding Frenzy and Volt Shot together, which is essentially just going to turn the IKELOS SMG into a legendary variant of the Risk Runner. Lightning fast reloads, high damaging ad clear, on a weapon known for being buttery smooth, you're in for a good time. Now, do I like this version of the IKELOS SMG more than the demo variant? I'm not really sure. It's really just going to boil down to what my playstyle is going into the specific content that I'm running. Lately, I've been leaning very heavily into ability builds with just how broken the Arc Titan is, so I'd much rather be using the demo version as of now, but that's not to say that the Volt Shot and the Feeding Frenzy version is bad. That is definitely a meta weapon. It is going to be one of the best SMGs in the game that you can get your hands on, so do not sleep on it. Now, moving on from the IKELOS SMG, let's talk about a gun that really isn't as good, and that is the IKELOS Handcannon. Now, this thing has low-key been awful, and I say low-key, but I mean high-key awful since its inception, as well as since it was a reward in the Prophecy dungeon before that dungeon's loot rework. Now, did Bungie give it better perks to make it much better than before? Yeah, I'd say so. Does that warrant using a 180 on the same level as, say, the Posterity? Absolutely not. So taking a look at the perks, we have combos that feature Subsistence, insert damage perk here. We have Triple Tap, Focus Fury. We have Rapid It, insert damage perk here. And finally, Stats for All, One for All. Now, the perks across the board are much better than they previously were on the older versions, but I can't help but see a missed opportunity here. Void weapons are incredibly strong, more strong than any other element when they roll with demo because of the volatile round synergy. I don't care what you tell me, Repulsor Brace will never be as good of an elemental perk, especially when compared to Headstone, Volt Shot, and Incandescent. It just does not compare. That means that the true unofficial elemental perk of void weapons is demo, so that all three classes can have volatile rounds more readily available to them. You know, with a warlock, they have Controverse Hold, they can pretty much get volatile rounds anytime they want, but if you're on Titan or Hunter, you're not going to be able to get volatile rounds on the same cadence as warlock, so having demo on a void weapon is huge. Now, had this hand cannon rolled with demo in the first column to be combined with Frenzy, for example, maybe even Tricorn, I would be singing its praises. As it stands though, it's a 180 hand cannon with okay perks, but with a 180 hand cannon like we saw with Posterity, which gets Volt Shot plus a damage perk, you need a little bit more than just good perks. You need something that's really special, and demo plus a damage perk would have gone really hard for this thing, but as of right now, you're just going to be turning it into shards each time you get it. Up next, we have a way more promising weapon as opposed to the previous, and that is the IKELOS shotgun. Now, pellet shotties aren't exactly a hot topic in the PvE landscape right now, but this one is fairly decent, has great enhanced perk potential, and even a new perk, which may end up providing some nice DPS numbers, although there definitely will be a fall off after some time. So taking a look at the perks, in the first column we have picks like Threat Detector and Grave Robber, with the second column featuring Vorpal, Enhanced Surrounded, Cascade Point, which is a new perk, as well as Trench Barrel. Now, traditionally, rapid fire frames are going to be dealing damage with the shotgun itself, so I'm not really going to recommend one to punch. But now, there's a few things that we need to unpack here. So, firstly, Enhanced Surrounded seems like a fantastic pick to pair with Threat Detector, as Surrounded, when enhanced, is actually going to give you a damage boost, making the perk deal more damage than previously. Of course, this is a shotgun, so getting the perk to proc shouldn't be much of an issue, making it a pretty good pick here. We also have Trench Barrel, which is more of a traditional perk, but then we also have the new Cascade perk. Now, this perk states that killing an enemy or sustaining precision hits on an enemy with another weapon will increase the rate of fire on this one. This in turn will give the IKELOS shotgun an incredibly fast rate of fire, which, while it does have potential, we can't quite pair it with a damage perk on this shotgun, but do keep an eye out for that perk on future weapons in upcoming expansions or seasons, as I could see it being a pretty big deal. Now, to end things off, let's talk about the final weapon of the video, the IKELOS Sniper. This weapon is one that I actually used during my day one raid of Vala the Disciple, and normally with these snipers, the sustained DPS style of snipers, you kind of use them as a last resort kind of DPS when you don't really have ammo in, let's say, like a linear fusion or your rocket or anything like that. Normally, you're going to be picking up this weapon if you do want to run day one raids, or if you're coping for a future sniper buff like myself. Now, this rapid fire frame has always been a decent pick for sniper DPS in the past, but with the surprise version, it has gotten much better. Whereas previously the best roll was triple tap or fourth times with high impact reserves, we're now looking at an IKELOS sniper that can roll fourth times or overflow, which can be paired with Focus Fury. If, like in the King's Fall Oryx fight, you can get off an easy solar well with something like Melee Wallmaker, you know, like on an ad right before DPS, then this thing can output some nasty sustained damage in a pinch where you might need it. Other than that though, if you're not coping for a damage buff, you're not doing day 1 raids, I probably would ignore this one, but I myself am definitely going to be crafting it before the new Lightfall raid. Now with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is my review on the reprised perk pools for the IKELOS weapons, how to farm them, which ones to craft, etc, etc. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite weapon from the set is, but I don't even know why I'm asking this, because of course it's going to be the SMG, and of course I'm going to agree with you. Anyways guys, thank you all so much for watching. Shout out to all of you still watching the video, as it goes a long way to support the content. And special thanks to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members. For Patreon, we got Admis, Vile, John, Noel, Serenity, Boomer Noob, and Tier 2, as well as Austin, Cinco, and 𝗏𝗄𝗎. As well as my Tier 2 YouTube members being Billy, Bluesman, Clear, Brian, Angel, Ben McClellan, Hank the Tank, Mayhem Gaming Peak, and Serenity once more. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.